How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to the Thinking Blue podcast. I'm your host, Blake Harris. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about what happened at the winter meetings and why the Dodgers struck out looking. I'll also be going over the latest rumors and free agency news as well. If you haven't already, make sure to go follow me on Twitter at BlakeHarrisTBLA, where I post a lot of great Dodgers content, a must follow. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on those notifications so you never miss a podcast in the near future. Now, it's been a while since I've done a podcast. I think the last one I did was back in mid to late August. Pretty much, long story short, school got in the way. I was very busy with schoolwork, other stuff I was doing, and I just didn't have like an hour and a half to film a podcast, edit it, post it to YouTube. I just didn't have the time. I graduated college a few days ago, so now I have a bunch of free time. I'm actually going to go back to Arizona in about a month and just kind of hang there for a few months, cover spring training when the Dodgers come out. So I'm going to have a lot of free time on my hands, so I hope to bring back this podcast. I'm going to try to get it on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff, because I know it's tough kind of listening on YouTube. It's easier with other devices. So hopefully in the next few days I can get those set up so that way you don't have to worry about just listening and watching on YouTube. You can listen on a bunch of other streaming services. So that's what's happening moving forward. Very excited to bring this back. I have a lot of Dodgers content to talk about. A lot has happened over the months. A lot has happened over the past few weeks. And I'm going to be getting to all the latest news in regards to the Dodgers. So first things first, let's go back to the winter meetings. Those happened a few weeks ago, and it was a very exciting winter meetings. I mean, this was the most exciting winter meetings, at least in the last few years. I can't remember. I mean, I'm trying to think back at least the last 10 years what, kind of big signings have happened during the winter meetings, and it seems like this year we had the biggest, which was great because coming into the offseason, I was telling this to my buddies, I really hope these main guys don't pull like a Bryce Harper or Manny Machado from last year, or they wait until, middle of February or so until they signed. We got all the signings. So pretty much Gerrit Cole, Steven Strasburg, Anthony Rendon, those were the three main guys coming into the offseason. Those were the three main free agents. Going into it, I kind of had the expectation that Steven Strasburg would go back to the Nationals. I thought that they would prioritize him over Rendon. I thought that the Dodgers didn't really have a chance with Strasburg. I did think he had a chance to go to the Padres, go back home, but I didn't think San Diego would shell that kind of money. And to no surprise, he goes back to the Washington Nationals, signs a nice contract. Now, what a move for him opting out with that deal he had with Washington. He makes like $145 extra million by opting out. Great move by Steven Strasburg, but as I mentioned, I didn't think the Dodgers had a chance. These next two guys were who I thought the Dodgers would be all in on. I posted a few articles saying that the Dodgers needed to be all in on them, and I thought they would be. The first one being Gerrit Cole. Now, coming into the offseason, I was predicting Gerrit Cole to probably sign a contract for maybe around $250 million. I definitely knew he was going to set the record for most money ever by a pitcher in baseball history, but I did not think it'd be anything close to what he signed for. Now, after the Strasburg signing, I thought potentially he could sign for near $300 million, and that's when I started to get a little worried in regards to the Dodgers. I mean, I'm not even going to talk about the past. Going back, years past, the Dodgers just don't spend any money anymore. They don't, offer those huge contracts, even for a guy like Gerrit Cole, who I think is the best pitcher in baseball right now. So I kind of had the expectation after that Strasburg signing that Gerrit Cole and the Dodgers wasn't really going to be a thing. Now, everyone was reporting that it was down to like the Dodgers, the Angels, and the Yankees, so they at least still had a chance. They met with Cole, they at least made an offer, but I just didn't really have any hope, and especially after the Yankees came out and they said that they're going to offer Cole like a record-breaking number. He's going to sign for a record-breaking amount, and I just thought the Dodgers, I don't think they're going to do that. So Gerrit Cole ends up signing with the Yankees, 9 years, $324 million, which, again, I was not shocked the Dodgers didn't offer that kind of money. Now, however, I was shocked that, according to Jorge Castillo of the LA Times, the Dodgers did offer Gerrit Cole a contract for 8 years, $300 million. Now, I did not think the Dodgers would do that. I did not think they'd offer him $300 million. Now, of course, there's no confirmation to that. I believe they did, but there's no way to confirm that. And I don't blame Gerrit Cole. I mean, it seems like all along he kind of wanted to go back to the Yankees. He was a Yankee fan 15, 20 years ago when he was a kid. It's the East Coast. They offer him more money. He's getting the longevity. So you can't fault a guy for wanting to go to his team that he rooted for growing up, especially going to a team that offers you the most years and the most money. But I was pleasantly surprised to learn that the Dodgers offered him 8 years for $300 million. Now, I know a lot of Dodgers fans were very hesitant to sign him to a $300 million contract, especially for a starting pitcher. And I, for one, I've always been on board with starting pitchers do not deserve that kind of money. I think they deserve to get paid, but I think paying them $30 million a year when they're only making 30 starts, if healthy, I mean, $1 million a start, I think that's insane. That is a lot of money. And especially with a guy, I mean, he is still, in the prime. I think he's only 29 years old he is right now. So it's not like he's 33, 34. However, paying a guy like that 35, 36, 37 million when he gets to age 34, age 35, age 36, that can be a little tricky. I can understand why people would be hesitant, but I made the comparison with him with Max Scherzer. Scherzer signed a deal when he was, I think, 29 years old with the Nationals. That was not like this, not $300 million, but it was for $200 million. And Scherzer's kind of getting better with age, so I'm not saying Gerrit Cole is going to replicate what Max Scherzer's been doing, but there's definitely a chance that Gerrit Cole can age gracefully. He can still dominate into his mid-30s, but overall a great signing for the Yankees. I was bummed that he didn't come to the Dodgers, but hey, at least we're not $300 million in the hole with a guy that potentially can be a huge question mark. Now, this is the one that I'm excited to talk about. This was the one that kind of hurt the most. After Gerrit Cole signed with the Yankees and it came out the Dodgers offered him $300 million, myself, and I'm sure a lot of Dodgers fans were thinking, this is great. The Dodgers are offering him $300 million. They're probably going to be offering a really, really, really good amount to Anthony Rendon as well, especially now that they're completely out on Cole. And it pretty much came down a day later, and it was like, yeah, the Dodgers are still involved. The Angels are heavily involved. The Nationals are probably out. So it seemed like, essentially, it was going to come down to the Dodgers or Angels in regards to signing Anthony Rendon. Now, all offseason, it seemed like the Angels, they were all in on Gerrit Cole. There was no mention of Anthony Rendon. So it seemed like Anthony Rendon going to the Dodgers was a perfect fit. Justin Turner talked about how he'd moved from third to first. I myself thought that Anthony Rendon coming to the Dodgers was a guaranteed lock. Yeah, well, a few hours go by and Ken Rosenthal drops a tweet saying the Angels are closing in on signing Anthony Rendon. And just like that, it all comes out. Anthony Rendon signs with the Angels. And it's like, what in the world just happened? He signed a very affordable contract with the Angels. I thought it'd be around what Nolan Arenado got with the Colorado Rockies. So this wasn't anything, too crazy. He signed for less than $300 million. So the Dodgers, if they offered $300 million to Cole, they had to have offered a huge contract to Anthony Rendon, right? Yeah, and that was the plot twist. That's where every Dodgers fan, I think every baseball fan, was caught off guard, where it came out, again, Jorge Castillo of the LA Times reported it, the Dodgers never even made a contract offer to Anthony Rendon. And it's, December 19th right now? I think he signed over a week ago. I am still in shock over this. Now, I guess it came out, and Anthony Rendon talked about this in his press conference with the Angels, in which said Twitter was going crazy over this. He said that he didn't really want the Hollywood lifestyle that the Dodgers had, which I don't understand because I don't think that Clayton Kershaw, Justin Turner, I don't think they're, on Hollywood Boulevard, partying it up, hitting up all the clubs. So not really sure what he means about the Hollywood lifestyle. I get what he means, but I think that the Hollywood lifestyle is more of a thing in the NBA, where you see more players clubbing, when they're in town. For baseball, I don't think there's such thing as a Hollywood lifestyle. So Anthony Rendon, he didn't want the Hollywood lifestyle. He wanted to go 45 minutes away to Orange County. Now, I don't blame him. I mean, Orange County is a great place to live. He's under a lot less pressure with the Angels than he would be with the Dodgers. Gets to play with Mike Trout, gets a great contract. So I'm not going to fault him too much. It just doesn't make sense from his perspective. But even if you're the Dodgers, because they came out and they said they just didn't have a feel that he wanted to, play for them, at least make him an offer. Make him an offer of 7 years for $250 million. He turns that down. That's okay. He turns it down, but at least you made an offer. But without making an offer, I just don't see what the point is. I mean, what if you offer him 7 years for $270 million and he goes, you know what? These guys want me here. This is a really good offer. It's better than what the Angels are offering me. Maybe I'll consider this. Now, again, maybe Anthony Rendon had a meeting with the Dodgers and he said, listen, I just wanted to meet with you guys, but I honestly have no interest in playing here. You guys can make me whatever offer you want. I'm going to turn it down because this is not for me and my family. Maybe that's the case. Maybe we'll never know, but I just don't understand how you're the Dodgers. You cannot make him an offer. I mean, Anthony Rendon, arguably a top 10 player in baseball right now. You can make the case he's the best third baseman in baseball. and you just don't make him an offer. So that one really hurt. Again, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that could have happened that we don't know, that I don't know, so I'll just leave it at that. But I was very shocked the Dodgers didn't make an offer. Anthony Rendon goes to the Angels, and just like that, the Dodgers strike out swinging on all the top free agents. And me personally, of course I was bummed about it, but looking at it now, it's okay. The Dodgers, you can't get the biggest names all the time. I know a bunch of fans are kind of worried now that it seems like year after year the Dodgers don't really land that marquee free agent. And it's not like making a trade where you have the pieces to make a trade happen and you can just get it done. It's all up to the player. Now, you can offer as much money as you want. You can pitch that Dodger Stadium's a great place to play. LA's a great place to live. The Dodgers have a winning franchise. They're going to compete for a championship every year. You can do that all you want, but when it's all said and done, it comes down to what a player prefers, what he wants, what he likes, and it has nothing to do with the Dodgers front office. I don't think it's Friedman's fault. I don't think it's the front office's fault. I don't think there's anyone to blame. I know a bunch of people were putting a lot of blame on Dave Roberts for, I guess, being in these meetings, but it's not even on Dave Roberts because Dave Roberts, I know a lot of people don't think so, but Dave Roberts is arguably a top 5 manager in the game of baseball. Yes, he's had some blunders in the postseason, but he's a great manager. He's done a great job with the Dodgers, and I don't think it's on him either. It's just what these players prefer, and they just didn't prefer what the Dodgers had to offer. They preferred other options. So I'm not too worried about free agents and what their views are on the Dodgers, what they think of them, because the Dodgers are going to sign a bunch of players. They're going to get some great guys, and it all comes down to, like I said, what they prefer. Now, the good thing for the Dodgers is they didn't completely strike out at the winter meetings. Now, they struck out on the main guys, but they did make a very good signing that I absolutely loved, and that's signing Blake Treinen to a 1-year deal worth, I believe, $10 million. Blake Treinen, he was with the Oakland A's for the last 2.5 years, spent about 3-4 years with the Washington Nationals. About 3 or 4 days before the Dodgers announced the signing of Blake Treinen, I wrote an article for True Blue LA saying the Dodgers need to make Blake Treinen their number one priority this offseason because 2 seasons ago, Blake Treinen gave us arguably the best season we've ever seen from a relief pitcher. Back in 2018, he went 9-2, had an ERA of 0.78. I need to stop and pause and just 0.78. He threw 80 innings, appeared in 68 games, and his ERA was 0.78. Now, there was like some stat, I think, where that's like the third lowest ERA for pitchers that have thrown at least 80 innings, like in MLB history, something like that. It was a historic season. He finished number 6 in Cy Young voting. He finished number 15 in MVP voting. Now think about this. He finished top 15 in MVP voting, and he only threw 80 innings. That's how dominant his season was. He had an ERA plus of 5.31, which, for those of you that don't really know the ERA plus stat too well, 5.31 is like unheard of. I mean, when I was writing the article and I saw that it was 5.31, I think I literally wrote, I don't think I've ever seen a number that high or a number close to that. He had a whip of 0.834. I mean, his strikeout per 9 was 11.2, had a strikeout to walk ratio of nearly 5-1. It was a very, very dominant season from Blake Treinen, the best reliever in all of baseball. And even back in 2018, I was like, man, if the Dodgers could somehow get him, I would be all over this. Now, 2019, I don't know what exactly happened, but Blake Treinen was not the same pitcher. He went 6-5, had an ERA of 4.91 in 57 games. Now, he was hurt a few times. He did kind of battle the injury bug, so maybe it had something to do with that, but he did not look the same. His saves went down from 38 to 16 because he lost his closing job. He wasn't the closer for the A's anymore, I think, in the second half of the season, so things were kind of spiraling out of control. His ERA plus was 88, the second worst of his career. His whip was 1.62. Things did not go well for Blake Treinen last year, and that's okay. I know that he had a really, really bad season last year, but the fact that it was 1 year, it was only 1 year, a year removed from his dominant season, and I just thought that we've seen it with the Dodgers and their pitching staff. They've been able to take pitchers who've kind of struggled in their career and kind of transform them and turn them into a dominant type pitcher. And I was thinking, this is a guy the Dodgers should be all over, because even if he can get back to half of what he did in 2018, the Dodgers are going to be getting a guy that could make a potential case for the All-Star game. I think this guy, without a doubt, if he can figure out his stuff, is a top 3 reliever in baseball. I mean, not only did we see it in 2018, We saw it in 2017 in his 35 games with the A's after he was traded there. I mean, he was with the Nationals to start 2017, was traded over for the second half of the season. He had an ERA of 2.13, had an ERA plus of 197, had a whip of 1.16. So he was really good in 2017 with the A's as well. And he's had a bunch of seasons in his career he's been really good. In 2014, 2.49 ERA, 1.38 whip. So Blake Treinen has showed, and this wasn't a one-year wonder where he was just dominant. He's shown in previous years he can be a really good relief pitcher. He's only going to be 32 years old. He's coming off some injuries. I think he's going to have a different mindset heading into the season, and I really think the Dodgers got a gem with this one. They signed him only to a one-year deal. Now, he was projected to earn like $7 million. The Dodgers offered him 10, so that just showed the Dodgers were really confident in him. They really valued him, and again, he comes in on a one-year deal. The Dodgers don't lose anything. If he comes out and he is awful again, which, again, I don't think he's going to finish the season with an ERA of 5. I think absolute worst case scenario, he finishes with an ERA around 3. The Dodgers are going to take that because it's only a one-year deal, and that's a really good addition to their bullpen. Getting a guy that has closer potential, has the nasty stuff he has, and can be a dominant reliever. Say Kenley Jansen gets hurt, he can fit into that closer role. Say he just comes out and dominates and Kenley's kind of struggling. All of a sudden now the Dodgers have a go-to closer. So overall, I thought this was a fantastic signing by the Dodgers. Again, I don't think there's much risk to it. Worst case scenario, he doesn't have a good season, you move on in a year. Best case scenario, he finds his 2018, 2017 stuff again, and the Dodgers are all of a sudden getting a top 5 reliever in the game of baseball. So Blake Treinen, a great signing. I think it has a chance to be one of the better offseason signings for any ball club this upcoming season. So a wonderful job by Andrew Friedman and co. That's a very, very good move that they made. Well done. All right, now, that's been the only signing the Dodgers have made so far. So let's talk about the latest rumors. Now, again, these are just rumors as of December 19th. By the time this is up, some of these deals might have happened. Some of them might completely have fallen apart, so we'll have to wait and see. But as of right now, I guess the Dodgers are still heavily in on Francisco Lindor and Mike Clevinger, and I absolutely want the Dodgers to pull this move off. Now, there's been a bunch of different tweets and news and rumors that have come out that the Dodgers want nothing to do with Lindor because they don't want to part with Gavin Lux, which I don't blame the Indians for wanting Gavin Lux back, but I guess the Dodgers, they're saying they're not going to part ways with Gavin Lux, so not exactly sure they'd acquire Francisco Lindor. There's been other reports that have come out saying that the Dodgers are actually focused on Mike Clevinger now, not Francisco Lindor, but I guess the Indians have a really high asking price. So I'm not really exactly sure what's going to happen with these two players. I would love, and I would absolutely love for the Dodgers to acquire both these guys, Lindor and Clevinger, because I understand the Dodgers' hesitancy with parting with Gavin Lux. He's their number 1 prospect, the number 2 prospect in baseball. He's under control for the next, I think, 6 years, and he has a chance to be a superstar. He has a chance to be an all-star. He has a chance to be, a top 15, 20, maybe a top 10 player in the game of baseball. But there's a chance that happens. Francisco Lindor, he's already arguably a top 10, top 15 player in the game of baseball. Last season, hit .284, had an OPS of .854, had a WAR of 4.7, but every year that Francisco Lindor has been in baseball, he's either been an all-star, been a Gold Glove winner, been a Silver Slugger winner. Last year he was an all-star, finished top 15 in MVP voting, won a Gold Glove. 2018 was an all-star, finished number 6 in MVP voting, won a Silver Slugger. 2017 he was an all-star, finished number 5 in MVP voting, won a Silver Slugger. Francisco Lindor, when he's fully healthy, which he has been, last year he only played the least amount of games in his career, which was 143. The previous 3 years he played at least 158. I think Francisco Lindor is without a doubt the best shortstop in baseball. I think he is. He hits for power, he steals bases, he gets on base, always has an OPS of 850 or so, which is unreal. And I think this is a guy that would absolutely help the Dodgers in the long run. Now, he is under contract for, I believe, 2 more seasons, so that's why a lot of fans are kind of hesitant. You're trading away 6 years of Gavin Lux for only 2 years of Francisco Lindor. If the Dodgers are giving up the future to acquire Lindor, I think they're going to do whatever it takes to re-sign him in 2 years when he hits free agency. Now, in 2 years, maybe he wants nothing to do with the Dodgers and he leaves, and that's the risk you're willing to take. But Francisco Lindor, if he comes and he wins with the Dodgers, and the Dodgers come and they offer him a ton of money, why would he leave? I think this is a guy, he's only going to be 26 this year. He's got at least another 8 to 9 years of, being a top shortstop in the game. I think it's a move the Dodgers absolutely have to make. And if you can add Mike Clevinger to the deal as well, you're getting a guy I think is the most underrated starting pitcher in all of baseball. Had a WAR of 4.2 last year, in just 21 starts. He went 13-4, ERA of 2.71, had 169 strikeouts and only 126 innings. So he's got a strikeout to 9 of 12.1, strikeout to walk ratio of nearly 5-1. And this is a guy we've seen over the last few years is a reliable starter. In 2017, 12-6, 3.11 ERA, 2018, 13-8, 3.02 ERA. He gets a lot of strikeouts, which would be great in at the beginning of the Dodgers rotation. And I think he'd be a very solid number 2 starter behind Walker Buehler. I mean, if you're having a starting rotation of Walker Buehler, Mike Clevinger, Clayton Kershaw, and then you can add, Kenta Maeda, Julio Urias, whoever you want, that's a really good starting rotation for the Dodgers. And he's really cheap. Mike Clevinger has a really affordable contract. He's under contract for the next few seasons or so, and he's not going to cost you a lot of money, and I think he'd be a great get for the Dodgers. Now, if the Dodgers were to acquire both those players, they would without a doubt have to give up a lot. They'd probably have to give up Gavin Lux, they'd probably be giving up Dustin May as well, and they'd probably be giving up a few other top 15 prospects, on top of maybe like a Jock Peterson or Ross Stripling, a few players. It'd probably be like 5 or 6 going to Cleveland, and we'd be getting those 2 back. And I still think the Dodgers 100% need to make that happen. I get it. Gavin Lux, Dustin May. Those are 2 guys that can be perennial All-Stars. They could be Hall of Famers. They could be Dodger legends. But that's a huge if. They're just prospects right now. Gavin Lux and Dustin May, though they've shown flashes with the Dodgers in September when they were with the club, they didn't look like incredible. They didn't look amazing. They were, in my opinion, kind of letdowns a little. Now, it was their first month in the big leagues. I can understand that, but I didn't see anything where I'm like, they 100% can't trade them. You're getting 2 guys who, again, Lindor's an all-star. Mike Clevinger could be an all-star. Mike Clevinger could be a Cy Young candidate this year. You're getting 2 proven guys, 2 very affordable guys who are at least under contract for the next 2 seasons, and I think that would make the Dodgers a whole lot better. Now, again, I understand their unwillingness to part with their young talent, but for years and years, the Dodgers have been building a really good farm system, so that way they can set themselves up to acquire assets if something like this were to come up. So I don't know how willing the Dodgers are to make these kind of trades, but I really think getting Francisco Lindor would be a great move for them. I think getting Mike Clevinger would be a really good move for them as well. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, well, what do you do with Corey Seager? What do you do with Corey Seager? You move Corey Seager. If you're getting Francisco Lindor, you move him around. Now, whether that's moving him to third base, whether that's moving him to second base or first base, you can make it work. But all of a sudden now, if your infield is Max Muncy, Justin Turner, Corey Seager, and Francisco Lindor, that's a really good infield. And as I already mentioned, if you have Mike Clevinger, that's a really good starting rotation. So the Dodgers, again, not really sure how true these rumors are, how invested they are with these guys, but I'm on board with trading the farm if that means you're getting 2 guys that can really help the team win next year, especially next year, and guys that are affordable, guys that you can sign long-term as well, and that's my stance on that. Another rumor that I want to talk about, this one doesn't really have as much information as the Lindor-Clevinger rumors, but I guess the Dodgers are supposedly interested in acquiring Mookie Betts from the Boston Red Sox. Now, Mookie Betts has 1 year left on his contract with the Red Sox. The Red Sox have come out and they said they want to dump salary. They're trying to, get under the luxury tax. They're willing to part ways with David Price, who I think is still owed like $95 million. Not really a good contract for a starting pitcher, who's like 34 years old and has had a few down seasons in the past. But the Dodgers have been linked to this, and this is another one I would be on board with. I know a bunch of Dodgers fans don't want Mookie Betts for whatever reason. I get he's under contract for 1 year. The Dodgers, they can sign him in a year if, he has another great season, or they can let him walk. But you're acquiring a guy who is a top 5 player in baseball, had a WAR of 7 last year, hit .295, 29 home runs, scored 135 runs, had an OPS of .915. This is a guy, he won MVP a few seasons ago, 3-time Silver Slugger, 4-time Gold Glove winner. He's one of the best, defensive outfielders in the game of baseball, arguably one of the best hitting outfielders in the game of baseball. And you're adding him to the Dodgers, I think that'd be a great move. And due to the fact that they're having to take on David Price's contract, which is, again, worth $95 million, it would make the return price for the Red Sox not as much as it would be for, the Indians. So I think the Dodgers can make this trade without having to give up Gavin Lux, without having to give up Dustin May. Now, I know there was, some report came out saying the Red Sox, they really like Will Smith. If you're the Dodgers, you got to part ways with Will Smith. You have Keibert Ruiz, who's going to be coming up this upcoming season. I don't know when he'll be ready, but if you have to start Austin Barnes for a few months, so be it, until Keibert's coming up. Keibert, a lot of people forget, was the Dodgers' number 1 prospect like a year or 2 ago. He had the most hype. He was supposed to be the catcher of the future. Will Smith, he was supposed to be pretty good, but he wasn't really seen as the future plan. Now that Will Smith's kind of taken over that role the last few months of the season, he's more tradable than he's ever been, in the past. I think the Dodgers, if the Red Sox want Will Smith, you give him to him, and it's probably going to cost a few other prospects as well. Maybe you're going to have to part ways with, like a Josiah Gray, a Jeter Downs. You'll probably have to throw in like a Jock Peterson, Ross Stripling, I don't know, Kike Hernandez, Chris Taylor, whoever the Red Sox want. But I do think the Dodgers could get this deal done without giving away Lux or May. And even if it does cost, Dustin May, I still think that's a deal you do because you're able to hold on to Gavin Lux. Or if they want Gavin Lux, I think it's a risky move, but I still think the Dodgers got to get the job done because you're getting a guy in Mookie Betts, when healthy, is maybe even a top 3 player in baseball, I would say. You're getting him for a year. I get there's, kind of worries about him leaving after a year, but that's a risk you're willing to take to get a guy like Mookie Betts, especially if you can hold on to Dustin May. You can hold on to your number 2 prospect. I'm not too keen on David Price. I know he had a pretty average season last year. Went 7-5, had an ERA of 4.28, had 128 strikeouts in 107 innings. Nothing awful by any means. In 2018 and 2017, 2016, he had really good years with the Red Sox, had an ERA of under 4 all those years, won 17 games in 2016, won 16 games in 2018. But he just hasn't really kind of looked good as of late. Now again, he only made 22 starts last year, had a whip of 1.31, which is not great, but it's not awful. I think David Price being your number 4 starter or so, depending on who the Dodgers sign in free agency, I don't think that'd be a bad option. Now, the contract hurts. That's kind of what you're doing. That's kind of what you're paying the price for. But again, if he's your number 4 starter, I wouldn't be too against it, especially if it gets you Mookie Betts, and especially if the going price isn't too much. And again, he's only going to be 34 years old. Maybe he can find something, here with the Dodgers pitching staff. Maybe they can kind of fix him a little. If they can get, 25 starts out of him, get his ERA to under 4. He's got a good strikeout per 9 ratio. Like I said, he had essentially 11 strikeouts per 9 last year, his best of his career. So he's striking out guys at a better rate than he ever has in his career. It's just a few other things haven't really been going well. Allowed 15 home runs last year in only 107 innings. Maybe they can get the home runs down, but I wouldn't mind taking a chance on David Price. Again, if that means you get Mookie Betts, and that means you can sign Mookie Betts long-term next year as a free agent. So, again, I'm all on board with this. I really like the Dodgers prospects, but at some point, you got to trade prospects in order to get better. Gavin Lux and Dustin May, again, they can really help out in the future, but the Dodgers, they're in win-now mode. Their team might not ever be this good this upcoming season, and I think they got to get the job done. I did a tweet, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. If the Dodgers can somehow do separate trades for Mookie Betts with David Price and Francisco Lindor and Mike Clevinger, I get it, you're probably going to dump the farm. You're probably going to have to part with like 3 or 4 of your best prospects. I still think you got to get the job done. That's going to be a crazy good team. And I think the Dodgers got to pull the trigger eventually because all the trades they've made in years past, like for Yu Darvish, Manny Machado, they haven't really parted ways with like a top 3 prospect. I think Willie Calhoun, I think he was like the number 4 prospect at the time when they traded for Darvish. And he's been okay with Texas. I think he hit like 20 home runs last year, but his OPS was low, his average was low. So all these prospects the Dodgers have parted with over the years, none of them have really panned out. And no, I'm not going to include Yordan Alvarez because he was not even really a prospect at the time. He was only with the Dodgers, I think, for a few months before they let him go. So that one, I'm not going to include. So the Dodgers, you gotta take a chance with the prospects and just get the guys that can help you win now. And again, maybe Friedman is planning that. Maybe he's expecting to make a deal in the coming days. We'll have to wait and see. But Mookie Betts, David Price, Francisco Lindor, Mike Clevinger, I am completely on board with those trades. All right, now we got some free agent news. I was going to talk about Hyun-Jin Ryu and a few other free agents, but this podcast is already going a few minutes long. I'm going to get to the Q&A questions, so I'll do another podcast in the coming days talking about Hyun-Jin Ryu, if the Dodgers should bring him back, and some other names that the Dodgers should take a look at to help bolster the starting rotation, and maybe some bats they can pick up as well. All right, so if you ever want to ask me a question for a future show, go to my Twitter, @BlakeHarrisTBLA. Tweet at me a question you have for the show, or you can leave a comment on this very video. I'll answer it in the very next podcast. So yeah, I love answering questions. We have a few I have to choose from right here, so let's get things underway. Tyler wants to know, will Jock actually be getting moved this offseason? This is a good one because it seems like every offseason, especially the last few years, Jock Peterson's name has been involved in trade rumors. I know the White Sox came out and they said they were interested a few weeks ago. Last year they were interested. I don't think the Dodgers trade Jock Peterson unless it's in a potential like Red Sox or Indians deal. I think he'd be a great addition for Cleveland if they're partnering with like Lindor and Clevinger. You're getting prospects back and you're getting a proven outfielder. I think that'd be a great move. And again with the Red Sox, you're losing Mookie Betts. They're probably going to want an outfielder in return. And I think Jock Peterson has the most value because out of the available Dodgers outfielders, he's probably the best. I know a lot of Dodgers fans want A.J. Pollock out, but I don't think a team is going to want to take him on with his contract and just his productivity. I think Jock Peterson's a great trade piece. So I do think if the Dodgers make one of these two trades I just talked about, he will be traded, but I can't see the Dodgers making a separate deal involving him because I do think for 2020, they have, high hopes for him. They're probably going to have Bellinger, Jock, Pollock out there in the outfield. Those will probably be their main three guys. I like Jock. I mean, I really do. I know he gets a bad rap, but I hope the Dodgers hang on to him, like I said, unless it's for like Lindor or unless it's for Betts. All right, this question comes from Josh. He says, pick 2 free agents for the Dodgers to sign, and my options are Josh Donaldson, Dellin Betances, Hyun-Jin Ryu, and Dallas Keuchel. I really want the Dodgers to sign Dellin Betances. I think he only played like in one game last year because he had multiple injuries. We've seen he's one of the better relievers in all of baseball. He's been so good with the Yankees over the years. However, I think he has come out and said he prefers to play on the East Coast. Not really sure how much truth there is to that rumor. If the Dodgers can sign him to go along with Blake Treinen, all of a sudden they have one of the best 7th, 8th, 9 bullpen trios in the game of baseball. So I would love Dellin Betances. I really want the Dodgers to sign Josh Donaldson. However, I am hesitant to offer him the 4 years that he's kind of wanting. I think he's going to sign for around $90 to $100 million. If the Dodgers can sign him for 2 to 3 years, I'm on board. I think Josh Donaldson is a really good player. He'd be a massive upgrade in the infield. He's a much better defender than Justin Turner. He's a much better hitter than Justin Turner. I'm just worrisome to offer him 4 years because he is in his mid-30s. That contract's going to be having him, on the team until he's like, 37, 38, 39 years old. I don't have his age up here in front of me. So I'm hesitant to sign him for 4 years. I'm hesitant to give him that much money, but I would be very, very happy if the Dodgers signed Josh Donaldson. Joseph wants to know, if you were Andrew Friedman, what would your realistic offseason moves have looked like? Well, I mean, realistically, the Blake Treinen signing, that would have been like my first order of business. Get a really good bullpen piece, especially one that has the chance to be a really good reliever. So that would have been my option number 1. My second option would have been trying to sign Gerrit or Anthony Rendon to however much they wanted, making a big splash, getting one of those guys. That's what I would have done. My number 3 option would be calling up the Cleveland Indians and saying, like, listen, Francisco Lindor, Mike Clevinger, we can make a deal work because I spent 5 minutes talking about it. I really like that move. If I was running the Dodgers, I would make that trade in a heartbeat. I would part with my prospects to get those guys back, and I'd be making my team better. So, yeah, those are the moves I'd be making if I was Freeman. And if I was him right now, I'd be talking with Hyun-Jin Ryu, Dallas Keuchel. I'd be talking about trying to get a potential short-term contract. I know Hyun-Jin Ryu wants like 4 years or something like that. I'd be seeing if we can offer him more money for maybe 2 years. Maybe offer him like a 2-year deal worth $45 million as opposed to, because I think he wants like a 4-year deal worth $90 million. I would try to offer him more annual money on a shorter term, but I know it's going to be tough because I know Hyun-Jin wants a bunch of years. So I think the Dodgers need to get another starting pitcher. In case they lose Ryu, they might lose Rich Hill. The only guaranteed guys in that starting rotation right now are Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, and I guess Kenta Maeda. I know Dave Roberts said Julio Urias is going to be part of the plan. Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, and Ross Stripling, those are kind of wild cards. They're not proven starters yet. I would like to see the Dodgers add a proven starter, and maybe that is Dallas Keuchel, but I don't want the Dodgers to overpay for him, give him too much of a long-term contract. But Dallas Keuchel wasn't awful last year with the Braves. He had a very, very decent season. So if you're getting him to be your number 3 starter, I'm fine with giving him $15 million a year if it's for 3 or 4 years. I think that'd be a fairly good signing, but I do think the Dodgers need to sign a starting pitcher right now and maybe try to get an extra bullpen piece as well. But I think overall, offensively, I think they're good. Like I said, I wouldn't mind Donaldson, but I think pitching is the best thing for Friedman to look at right now. Again, whether that's a starting pitcher or a bullpen piece, he needs to add another pitcher. But yeah, that does wrap it up for this episode of Thinking Blue. If you have any questions you'd like answered in the next episode, leave a comment on this video and I'll make sure to answer them. And make sure to go follow me on Twitter at BlakeHarrisTBLA. Give me a follow and tweet at me or send me a direct message, and I'll get those questions in the next episode as well. Also, again, make sure to follow me on Twitter. Lots of great Dodgers content, lots of fun interaction going on over there. It's a definite must follow if you're a Dodgers fan. Thank you again for listening to this episode of my podcast. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode in the near future. Lots of episodes coming out in the coming weeks. Like I said, now that I'm done with school, now that I have free time, I am ready to talk Dodgers again. Lots of great content coming, and maybe a few other videos as well that are not podcast related that I'm really excited to work on. So yeah, make sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, follow me on Twitter. This has been Blake Harris, and I will see you guys very soon.